Hey everyone, I'm Jake Xander, and recently I watched a thriller for Thor Love and Thunder in 0.35x speed and found some details that normally you wouldn't notice in regular speed. Some you might have noticed already. In that case, I'm hoping to be able to give you some new information through this video. So without any further ado, let's get going. Number 1. The thriller begins with the transition of Thor from a kid to a man. In the second phase, it shows Thor in his teenage self, wearing Thor's classic Jack Kirby costume, the winged helmet, yellow boots, and blue pants. Then in the last phase, he's seen wearing the modern costumes we've seen throughout the course of his descent to Earth, and before Asgard is destroyed. And we also see him surrounded by flames. He's in the middle of a battle, and if you notice, this costume has a bad collar, same as the one we see in the final scene of this trailer. This costume is inspired by the 1988 Thor number 4 comic, with the bad collar, sleeveless arm, but you don't see him wearing the helmet here. Number 2. We see Thor planting the Stormbreaker as a sign of him ending his heroic days, but clearly that didn't last. We also see him meditating, and if you noticed, the sun of this planet is huge, and beside it we see two glowing objects, one above the tree and the other below it, and a ringed planet to the side. Obviously this isn't Earth. Number 3. We see Thor unveiling his new look in a dramatic way, and Peter Quill rolls his eyes to see if he's tired of Thor's display. But if you notice, this scene didn't happen in order, because when Thor took off his shirt, Peter Quill was taking cover behind this rock. So the best explanation is, Peter must have rolled his eyes because of something else, and not because of Thor's dramatic display, as the trailer wants us to believe. Number 4. In the same scene, Thor and the Guardians are saving this planet, populated by blue-skinned individuals. These might be the home place of Yondu, Century 4, which could make these people the Zetroan tribe. And if you noticed, we have the full members of the Guardians with him, excluding Gamora. This is because the Gamora from their timeline hasn't been found yet, or probably never will. Number 5. We get a shot of New Asgard, a lot more advanced than the one we saw in Endgame, and apparently has become a place for tourists. And here we see a flying boat departing the port, carted by the Teeth Bearer and the Teeth Grinder, in the Norse mythology, the Thor's companions. When we pull closer, we see Korg, Valkyrie, Thor, and another individual, maybe Jane Foster, and behind Korg and Valkyrie, we see a neon sign indicating Cocktails and Dreams. These may be in reference to the 1988 movie Cocktails, starred by Tom Cruise. Number 6. We get our first exciting scene of Olympus, the home of the Greek gods, and if you notice, the Mars is suspended in the air, as though there's no gravity on this planet, similar to that of old Asgard. Probably there's some sort of magical powers keeping this Mars away from the force of gravity. Number 7. We see the ship approaching a frozen planet, and Thor standing on the bow with the Stormbreaker streaking forward. Remember, the Stormbreaker has the power of the Bifrost. We saw that in Avengers Infinity War. Notice that he's now wearing a new suit, while harnessing the power of the Stormbreaker. This suit is inspired by the costume of the Rune King Thor, one of the greatest versions of Thor, who could tap into the Odin Force and rune magic. Now, most people must not have noticed this, but so far we've seen 4 different suits. The classic Jack Kirby suits, the Rune King suits, the King Thor suits, and the old suits we've seen in the older Marvel movies. Number 8. We see Thor and Korg standing and staring at a creature, Valgard the Behemoth, killed by Gore the God Butcher. And what makes this scene unique is that this image is taken directly from Jason Aaron's God Butcher storyline, Thor God of Thunder number 3 comic, with so much similarities, and the incorporation of Korg and Thor holding the Stormbreaker being the only difference. Number 9. We finally get a clear shot on the new Asgard, showing from the same angle as when Rocket and Hawk approached the town in Endgame, but now the port is filled with several ships. We also see a van drive past. If you take a closer look, you see new Asgard tools inscripted on it, and the logo of Mjolnir featured on it. Number 10. We get a clear view of the Guardians, Peter Quill, Drax, Rocket, Groot, Nebula, and Mantis. And you notice there's a chip on the forehead of Mantis connected to an antenna, perhaps as a way of amplifying her powers. And also you notice Thor has now grown his braids, as opposed to Ragnarok, where his hair was shaved off. Number 11. We see a reforged Mjolnir. Notice that this is the exact Mjolnir destroyed by Hela in Thor Ragnarok, and not the one from Endgame. If we look closer, we still see the cracks on the hammer, and behind Jane and Thor, we see the town of New Asgard being attacked by some creatures, probably sent by God the God Butcher, or probably they came on their own accord to consume. Hopefully we get to see a clearer version. Alright guys, that is my breakdown for Thor Love and Thunder in 0.35x speed. Now if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, grab the subscribe button and turn your notifications on. I really appreciate your support and contribution to help grow this channel, and don't forget to comment below what you think of this. I'll see you all in the next one.